I'm Matt Braunger. This might help.
I am not a doctor.
This might help.
I'm not a professional.
Let's have fun. This honestly is a good time.
Honestly, I got no idea what I'm doing. What's going on? Who are you?
I'm Matt Braunger. This might help. The podcast.
Hey, welcome to This Might Help with Matt Braunger, the only advice podcast that's funny. The rest suck. No, that's not true. But thank you so much for listening and for understanding that this is not. If you're new to the show, this is not clinical advice. This is people giving distinctly unqualified advice and catching up with each other. But the advice thing, if you need serious help, you need to go to a professional. Or real help. We give advice based on our lives' foibles, so it's experience, and so it's for fun. And with that said, I'm going to stop being unfunny and clinical and introduce my guest, an old friend of mine, Bridgetown co-founder with myself, and Jeopardy champion, Andy Wood. Andy, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. It
Great
still
to
doesn't.
see you, man.
You too. Congrats on fatherhood, by the way.
Oh, thanks, dude. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's the best. Are you? Now I have to ask: are you in your desert bunker oasis?
I'm in my new desert lair. Yes, which people find out I moved to the desert and they find out about Jeopardy. I was like, oh, you spent those Jeopardy bucks. Like, no, I moved out here a year ago. It was unrelated.
You're one of those guys like Dave Lyons who like owned property way too young. You know, like one of those things where you were like, you know, like, and I say way too young, just I'm making fun of, I'm being ironic with myself, you know, because I didn't own any until I was like, I think probably at least 40.
Oh, I feel like I feel like a hateable boomer, even though, you know, we're about the same age, just because when I was 26, I just made a lucky dumb call and bought a house in Portland when that was cheap. And I wasn't making a lot of money, but like houses were just so cheap back then and interest rates were so low. And
Dave got one in Michigan around the same thing. It was one of those things I probably could have with my waitering money, you know, in Portland or Michigan. Certainly not in Chicago where I lived at the time, but it was just I always, like most people that age, had that fear of the permanence of buying something.
Oh, I never had that. I was just like, I'm wasting rent money. Why wouldn't I?
Oh, good for you. No, because it took me so long to get that into my thick fucking skull that like you're better having your money in a property than in the bank. You know, if you don't need to get at it, if you have a nice chunk that, you know.
It's like jumping straight into advice here, which is going to sound awful to people who are like, yeah, it's not as accessible as it was, but you know, if you can. Real estate is almost never a bad, especially compared to like a car. I would give that advice. If you don't have the money to buy your car with cash, don't buy that car.
Right.
It's my only life financial advice.
Mm-hmm. No, I would absolutely agree. And I think the one thing that does depreciate is like condos lose value.
Oh, okay.
You know, because it's just so privy to speculation and stuff. And but yeah, in terms of like a house, even kind of a shitty house with some land or something, it's
usually, even if it just maintains its value, you can write off the interest. So
see, look, we're already getting into advice. You're one of those people who like I've always known to be such a fun, kind dude, but also so fun to make fun of, like so many of my nicest friends. You know, I mean, I'm referring, of course, you came along with other friends to my bachelor party in wine country, which is what you do when you're 42 and you're getting married. And we got in the habit, because you were the best looking guy there, of yelling "fuck you, Andy" at you, and not nice, not cool. I'm sure it wore on you, but to your credit, when we were deep in our cups late one night and listening to music in the stereo, and you came outside with a ukulele and everyone screamed it, and you went, "I earned that. That one I deserved. That one I deserved."
But then didn't I do a pretty passable night moves on said ukulele?
You did. You did a great job. Better than that guy we bribed at the winery. We were throwing fucking 20s
forgot about that.
at. Yeah. Because I think Lyons hadn't slept. I think him and like Burns stayed up all night. The rest of us went to bed, and then we went to wineries. And so Lyons rolled out of bed, still lit. And I remember we went to that by the second winery. I think we only went to like 3. or maybe 4. The second winery. Dave Holmes was talking to Lyons, and then he goes to me when Lyons walks away and goes, "Your straight friends can't handle their wine."
100% true. Was that at the Harley Davidson themed winery?
No, that was that one with all the collection of Italian motorcycles and scooters.
Yeah.
That was awesome. No, this was that one that looked like a James Bond villain lair. Everything was like
right.
stainless steel, and I remember the wine there. It was Temecula, so they're known for kind of sweeter wines, which I just do not dig. And this guy, I was like, "Oh, I'll try the rosé," and he gave it to me, and I took a sip, and it was like Kool-Aid, and I was like, "Oh, that's not. I don't think that one's for me." And I didn't. It wasn't like I bought a glass of wine. I was like, "Oh, can I? I think I'll take a glass of." And I was gonna buy something else, and it's like, I guess I'd call him like a 20-something wine bro or something behind the thing, and he'd like,
Mhm.
you know, obviously he's like muscular, like kind of yoked, a tattoo. And he was so offended that I didn't like the rosé. He was like, "You know what? I'm gonna let someone else take care of you, man." And he like walked away, and I was like, "Was he supposed to just choke it down? I didn't like it. I'm
Yeah,
sorry."
the Temecula rosé bros are the worst. Yeah. Just territorial.
And just prideful for no reason. Just what? If someone doesn't like what you like, that doesn't make them bad. Like, come on.
I want to see like a West Side Story street fight between the rosé bros and the Chardonnay crew, just like snapping their fingers.
Flicking the cigarette. Yeah. So I wanted to talk about the Jeopardy thing because people are, I'm sure, curious. But I really got a kick out of when you're part of our trivia group that we do every couple weeks. We all do trivia online. People in Massachusetts, and you're in Palm Desert. You're in Palm Desert, right?
Joshua
Not Palm
Tree.
Springs.
Joshua
Joshua
Tree.
Tree.
Yep.
Cool. And other friends in the Valley, and we're in LA, and and Hoffman in Portland, and we were all just texting each other about are we doing this? When's the next one? La la la. And you were like, "Oh, check me out on Jeopardy tomorrow." I was like, "Wait, what the fuck?" Because I didn't know. I hadn't heard anything about it, and we were all like, "Oh, awesome!" But you knew for weeks like how you did, right?
2 months. Yeah.
2 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you can't obviously say anything because you know the PDA and all that jazz. What's it called? Or what am I saying? No, Pete. It's
Public
the
display of
public
affection.
display of affection because you're making out with people in public.
Right.
No, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
NDA. And yeah, I remember when Kyle and I were closed captioners for the hearing impaired. We would do like we do like Hell's Kitchen sometimes. You had to sign
Mhm.
all these forms where you had that weird thing in your head where you're like, I could just tweet out who won Hell's Kitchen right now and get sued for $10 million.
Or isn't there some like Vegas bookmaker bookie who would take odds on Hell's Kitchen? I'm sure, and you could go.
They do odds on everything. So yes,
Yeah.
I really get a kick out of my degenerate gambler friends because they'll be like, I'll be like, what's the line on the Super Bowl? And like Bill Burr, I was talking to, and he was like, oh, hey, I got money on what color the Gatorade's going to be. I went green. Like it's just who knew that anything you could bet on, they'll take.
Yeah, I think
a line on.
I haven't done this, but my podcast co-host Matt Kirshen has used.
Yeah.
I think it's called predictit.org. It's where you can place money on all kinds of stuff like that. It's just life things, current events, kind of things.
Oh, I almost wish I didn't know that.
Yeah, sorry.
Like that's the kind of betting I would enjoy. Like my friend Justin. We will get to Jeopardy, but my friend Justin from trivia, he had money on how long the national anthem would go, because the people always bet too long, and it's evidently it's a faster song than people realize. And this year, that artist, her, who did it, she went super long, and he was like, I just text her, he's like, "Fuck," just blew it.
By the way, I forgot. Congratulations are also in order for your Super Bowl spot. That was amazing.
Oh,
that was
thank you. Yeah,
so cool.
Everyone's calling me Miracle Bro. Thanks, everybody. I should be killed. No, that was one I was kind of. They it was like a godsend because all my shows got wiped out from COVID last year. So with the exception of like some residuals, Kara was floating the boat, for us. And it was like, I'm a stay-at-home dad, so I'm doing my part. But there's that part of you that's like, fuck, man, I want to earn, I want to help.
Yeah.
And so to just get a job that big at the beginning of the year, that was like you go in, then you're like, it's all online, and then you get a call back, and then the director wants to see you face to face, but all these you're spaced out in a room, and there's just you, and everyone has a mask on,
Yeah.
and then you get it, and they're like, oh, and it's for the Super Bowl. You're like, what? So it's like it was great. It was great. I was so lucky to get that.
You shot it the first of this year or last year?
No, this year.
Oh, that's
Year, because
so recent. Wow.
Yeah, totally. Just a couple weeks ago, I shot it. I shot that, and then I did a one day on Blackish. I have like a kind of recurring character on that, and in the space of like 10 days, I got tested 9 times for COVID. So it's like,
wow.
But I was talking to a couple sound guys, and they were just like, they're listening to some meeting on one of their phones before we started, and I was like, you guys listen to Rush? Just fucking with them. And I'm like, what? No. And they're like, no, it's the union meeting. And
sure.
A union meeting is literally the opposite of listening to Rush.
Yeah.
But he said that there was the COVID guidelines are in the business, and union shoots are more rigid than that in hospitals right now. Like,
I mean, I believe it. Similar for Jeopardy. It was such a bonkers thing, like, having to do your own makeup because no one wants to touch you. So there was a makeup guy in a full like hazmat suit, and
holy shit.
And he did a little like pre-show touch up with the powder puff. Then he put that in a plastic bag, put that in a Ziploc bag, gave you that. And then the rest of the day, it's your job. Every commercial break, he comes out, stands 10 feet from you, and points at parts of your face that you then have to do this with this baggie at your feet at your podium the whole game. So,
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
God. Yeah. You did it 2 months ago. So that was obviously still in the thick of COVID.
September. Yeah.
And September, I didn't even know if they were doing scripted stuff. I think they were maybe only doing game shows for the most part.
It seemed pretty early. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was really surprised. Like, I knew I'd gotten in the contestant pool as of like May or June, but I was like, I don't think they're going to shoot this coming season, especially with Alex's health combined with COVID. I was like, they're not going to have a season. And in August, I got the call. It's just amazing.
That's insane. And how it was just a producer just called your house or called your cell phone?
Yeah. And said, are you free in 3 weeks? And I almost had to like cancel my only trip I'd planned of the year, which I guess I shouldn't admit to. Whatever. I went back to Michigan to see family. I got tested beforehand. Judge me if you want.
I flew to Portland under the guidelines of a epidemiologist that we Zoomed with. Like, my wife's in this kind of like industry mom group, and there was a woman on there whose dad created the guidelines for California. And she was like, would you do a Zoom for the group and just talk about travel? And he just went through exactly what to do and how to. And it was like, now I won't say I've never felt safer. We had a newborn, but it was like,
right.
We also drove across the country at one point, and we had never interacted with anybody besides, the behind the glass of like a hotel thing.
Gas station.
And that gas station, but that probably was more unsafe than flying because the planes circulate the air so much.
Yeah,
I can't speak for like Spirit Airlines or Frontier, but
I mean, I've definitely done some fantasy kayaking. Kayak.comming during the pandemic of like, oh, what if I could? And you see like a Spirit flight for $200 to Nicaragua. I was like, that's an awful idea, but what a price! Like, well, I could go.
Well, look at that deal.
Yeah,
it's so true. Kara has a client that's like living there with his husband, and he's shooting on the Lord of the Rings thing that they're shooting in New Zealand for Amazon. So he gets to live in fucking New Zealand right now, where they can just walk around maskless and go to a bar.
Go to bars. Yeah.
Oof. Yeah. Go to bar. Go inside with anyone. You know what I mean? It's like, I would love to go to a bar, but like, you could even take alcohol out of it for the first time. Could I just stand in a room with people with no anxiety?
Yep.
That would taste as good as a cold one, without a doubt. Okay,
Yeah, I'm
so
there.
you get the call,
Yes,
and you're you. Let's start. Like, you have a podcast called Mostly Science,
probably science.
probably Science.
Yeah.
Sorry, and I've been on it. It's a blast. And so I mean, you and Matt are both very smart people, and you're nerdish about
I
things, like
mean,
we all are.
yes, yeah. I
But
think, yeah. If you, I was gonna say if you met me as a kid, but even now, whatever. Yes, I would. It's everyone tries to take that word back or just appropriate it because it's cool now. But it's like, no, I was like a real deal, like into origami and old time radio shows, weird nerd kid. Like, yeah,
yeah,
not at the cool kids table. And then I was an engineer in college, and I guess I've always been a trivia fan. I don't know what the right word is, but
no, me too.
I tried out for Jeopardy, the teen tournament, 27 years ago, and didn't
Whoa.
make it past the first round. And so I sort of put that out of my head as a possible thing. Like I wasn't mad at Jeopardy, but I was like, okay, that's not for me. And then it was only spring of 2019 when Alex announced his cancer diagnosis. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I thought he was going to retire soon. I can't believe he,
Right.
so I was like, oh, I want to try to get on before Alex retires. So that was what like spurred me to start doing the online tests and stuff and see if I could get back in it. It's probably good that I didn't do it for 27 years because I acquired more knowledge and I saw more Jeopardy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's wild. I agree. I was never, not exactly like this, but I think of that Simpsons where they call Milhouse a nerd, or Bart calls him a nerd, and he goes, "I'm not a nerd, Bart. Nerds are smart." Like I would feel like I was much more of a dork than a nerd. Like I was always kind of right brain, terrible at math, liked science, didn't really understand it. But to your point about trivia, I always did love like Trivial Pursuits. I'd rather play Trivial Pursuits than Monopoly,
Yeah.
or Scrabble. And everyone else wants to play those other two things.
Yeah. Monopoly's the worst. Yeah.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Who enjoys
But
that?
yeah, being a capitalist shitbag and not even in real life. But so you went to the show, you killed it. You won 4 times?
Yeah. So I was on 5 games, and
Yes.
weirdly, that was all one day because they shoot a week's worth of episodes in a day. So
Whoa.
yeah, that was like that. September 9th was the most bizarre day of my life.
Oh my
'Cause
God.
You're in this room, that room being the Wheel of Fortune stage, which they used as the green room because the green room at the Jeopardy stage was too small COVID wise. So we're all sitting in the audience area of Wheel of Fortune, staring at a tarped over wheel, hearing from this lawyer. They have like a third party lawyer who's there to keep everything on the up and up, in the wake of the quiz show scandal of I guess it's been like 60 years now. All game shows want to have things very, what's the word? Not safe from scrutiny or from legal things. So there's a lawyer who's like, I'm going to draw 2 random names for each episode, and then I'll call your name. You'll come up and be in that episode. And they wanted us to stay and watch. There was no audience because of COVID, but they wanted the contestants to be in the audience just to have some sense of
wow.
there being a crowd. So like, even if you're not in the episodes or if you've already played and lost, we'd appreciate it. We can't make you, but if you sit in the audience. And I was like, oh, this is good. I'll get to watch a couple of games. That'll like get, I'll become familiar with it. Then I'll get called. But then she's like, okay, for the Monday game we got, and she called my name. I was like, I'm going to lose. I'm going to lose in the first game. Then I'm going to have to sit here and watch 4 more games. I was so convinced I was going to lose that first game, but I just lucked out on the final Jeopardy. I was behind, and the guy who the reigning champion, who I guess I've since gotten into the Jeopardy subreddit, and I've gotten into like the nerdery of tracking people's performance. And there's a thing called a Coriat score that tracks someone's performance without taking into account amounts wagered on Daily Double. So just like how many did they get right, assign the dollar value on the board to that. So you can sort of do like apples to apples comparison of player quality across different games. And like he, in his 2 games, I think had the highest Coriat score of any player to not win more than 1 game. So like he was dominating, but he just didn't bet big on his Daily Double. Like he was really conservative, and then just happened to get the final Jeopardy wrong. So I just jumped past him at the last second. You can see the surprise on my face because I had become resigned to losing that game. And I was like, well, I didn't do horribly. This was fun.
Yeah.
And then
I remember that.
Alex says my name, and I'm just like, what is happening? This is the most bizarre day of my life. Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah. And to your point about daily doubles, you bet big on every one,
I
like
mean,
all
that's
4 of those games.
yeah, I knew this is like
Which
the only time you get to be on it. So I was the day before I was hiking Runyon, listening to any podcast I could find that had a past contestant on and listening to like James Holzhauer and Ken Jennings talk about strategy. And yeah, you just have to look at that as not real money, but just as, chips, like a way to play this game.
Yep.
And you got to bet big. Like those daily doubles are the best. It's like the putting money behind the pass line at the craps table. It's best odds in the house.
Yep.
It's
And you're already like obviously a smart cookie. There's never a Jeopardy where someone's like, I don't know any of these. Like it just doesn't exist because it's Jeopardy, So you might as
Yeah.
well, like, not to be fucking self-help Johnny, but bet on
No.
yourself. Like you
You-
have to. You have to go,
Exactly.
I'm gonna probably fucking know this one.
If you've gotten to that point, you've gotten past 3 rounds of already proving your worth trivia wise. So like, I bet almost any contestant left to their own devices playing a board with no competitors could
Yeah.
get 75-80% of the questions right. Like it's most of the questions are just not, I'm not gonna say they aren't that hard, but like they're gettable because you are at that point. So
Right.
a daily double question isn't inherently harder. It's just, a randomly
Yes.
assigned. So just bet on the likelihood that you're going to know that, which is very
Mhm.
high. So
Well, and it was fun to fuck with you when you got that Ozymandias.
oh my
one,
God.
because I don't know how to say that
I-
word. I mean, it's like I guess I do because I saw Watchmen and I knew the poem before that because it's
Yeah,
that quote that's badass when you're a
It's
kid.
really cool. Yeah.
And you're like, and you're like, that's kind of poetry stays out in your head from English class and shit. But I was like, I don't know how to say it. So you were like Ozymandias or however you said it, but you said it maybe a little off, but I didn't even know. I was
No,
like, can't believe you fucked that name up. Like, I don't know how to say that word.
it's such a perfectly stupid thing to fuck up because I've seen the movie. I haven't seen the HBO show. So I can't be like, I've only read it. I have seen it. Why I messed it up though, is I was writing for this show for Sci-Fi a year ago called The Great Debate, which is this nerdy panel show. People debate, like who would be worse to work for, the Joker or Darth Vader. That kind
I love
of stuff.
that. Yeah, totally.
And one of the producers, Jody, who's just died in like a nerdier nerd than I with more like comic book cred. He would pronounce it the way that I said it. And there would be these fights around the office. He's like, no, it's obviously, wait, so I would have said Ozymandias. That's what he would always say. Mandius is also just looks more like Mandius. I don't know why I would, but Jody just got in my head. So then I said to Alex, who is Ozymandias? Or I don't know how to say it. Like I said that as I was answering it. I was like, I don't know this nerd shit. But luckily, they don't care about pronunciation or spelling so much. So it's still kind of.
That's good. Yeah. And Alex was, I'm sure, a mensch.
Oh yeah, totally. Great guy. I mean, people are always like, did you get to pal around with him? I was like, well, no, for reasons of like impartiality, you can't,
of course,
they can't play favorites. So there's no like real chummy downtime stories, but he's obviously just a total pro. Everyone makes fun of him for being like short with people sometimes, but he's got like 3 seconds to try to like wrap up, do this transition. It's like that kind of gig would be so hard. I mean, I can't imagine juggling all those dynamics, being graceful and having that poise. But also my friend Alex Schmidt, who a fellow podcaster who was also a Jeopardy winner. He talked about this and I was like, oh, that's a great point. Like the conversation he has over the credits that you don't always hear is like the weirdest. There should not be a conversation between those 4 people at that moment. Those are the 4 people who would not want to be like, he's navigating this conversation between 1 super pumped person and 2 probably opposite of pumped people who also are not big fans of the pumped person right now. But Alex has to give them all this, this moment with him and navigate being like a host at a dinner party with sworn enemies or something. It's like that skill in navigating that. That's probably got to be the hardest thing to do 5 times a day that he did for 35 years or whatever. So
well, I remember being in, God, where was I? Some tiny town in Texas when my wife and I were driving back from Massachusetts, and we were in like a Mexican restaurant that was like about to close, and this old woman is making me enchiladas for me to take back to the hotel for me and Kara. And I had a CV on, and I was like, I was the only person in the building besides whoever was in the kitchen, and like there was a thing on Alex and his battle with cancer and how he was like, and he had this grace about his terminal illness where he was just like, he's like, I have no fear about what happens when I die. None. Of course, I'm very sad for my family and the people who will miss me, but I have had a wonderful life and I can't ask for anything else. And I feel fine. And it was just like, wow. 'Cause
Amazing.
you need a guy like that to do that, that can be like, yeah, I'm just going to be short with people. I hope they don't catch feelings. I can't slow down to reassure them. I hope they understand that it's all in good fun. I think everybody, even when he's just like, he's like, nope, the blah, blah, blah. There's a party that's like, man, like he's just busting your chops a little
Yeah.
bit to keep the act moving. You have
Yeah.
to. And it's this perfect, he doesn't overdo it like that, you know, you are the weakest link where all it is mean.
Right.
Like he's
right.
not a mean guy. And I'm
No.
not saying weakest link is bad, but it's just fucking cartoony theater.
Gimmick for
you
that
know?
part of it.
It's
Yeah,
a gimmick, yeah. Whereas Jeopardy is like forever. Jeopardy you can watch in any language, and it can
Yeah.
it's that thing that you gotta. He just lands it. So
It's
it's
just
great.
the professionalism is just so amazing to me. Also because I don't have that in me, you know. So it's like
No, me neither.
respecting skills in someone else that are your biggest weaknesses. Not that I mean, if someone wants to hire me, I'm totally professional. But but no, his professionalism. I mean, like in those 5 games, I think he only retook a question one time, and that was because he wanted to make an edit to the writing of it on the fly. So he didn't need to do any pickups. Just like everything is just total pro. He
Yeah.
was in there at like 5 a.m. or something every day to review all the games. Like he just loved the
Jesus
game. He
Christ.
loved that
That's
show.
so dope.
Yeah.
And you got those for like. So I feel like I feel like the thing I've still never topped is I was the last guest on Letterman in 2008, and it's just like because he was such a hero of mine, and like the fact that I did well, and he had me over the couch, and I made him laugh, and then
That's amazing.
They kicked me out into an alley, but they did it with everybody, and that's New York, baby. But that I feel like not that I'll be like I'll never top that, but like I probably won't, and that's fine. Do you have that feeling about Jeopardy?
Oh, 100%. There will never be a day in my life like September 9th, 2020. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and then also being kicked back out onto the street outside the Sony Culver City lot and driving home. And in your case, at least like that night, you can be like, everyone watch this. In my case, it's like, okay, 2 months of silence. And then people will see what just happened. Yeah. So it was so bizarre. But yes, I don't know how there would be a high higher than that. I'm fine with that being my peak because it was pretty
so great,
crazy.
It's so great. It was so fun to see. It's just like I just so fun to root for you and be like, you fucking made it. Then see another one, then he made it again, and it was like, when you finally lost, it was like I was just like what there was no disappointment that I felt. I was just like, God, he came so fucking far, dude. Holy shit.
I mean, this is the craziest. No, it's all crazy. But one of the many crazy things was that the person I lost to is a friend of mine, Charlie Fonville, who I've worked with on shows. Yeah. And he and I joked that morning, like, I hope, because we had run into each other at the COVID test a few days before, and a producer heard us talking, and they're like, okay, we have to have you sign this waiver to make sure you guys aren't on the same game together since you know each other. And so I assumed they were going to have one of us move tape days, but we were both there. And we were joking before any of the shows started, like, I hope one of us doesn't like run the table the whole day, then the other one won't get to be on. And then I kept winning. And there were alternates the producers could have brought in, could have used, who were at the ready. But I'm guessing by the 5th game, they were just like, I don't want to have to get an alternate up to speed. We'll just put Charlie on. Plus, I don't know how you would there's no way you could even really like game it. There's no way you could cheat with 2 people, I don't think anyway.
I think Jeopardy is a game of, my brain against yours, and that's why I'm here. I'm not here for the money. Yeah. It's not like, that whole scandal with like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire in England when those people like gamed it. There was a whole mini series on it. It was fascinating because there's a whole network of people that would like they'd get someone on there and they would have people in the studio audience that would like cough the number or whatever like that. And because it's only one guy,
right.
And so, but they were like, they figured it away. It's kind of like they couldn't really do anything about it because they couldn't really, they never set that up to be illegal or something like that. So, but as far as Jeopardy, you're never going to have 2 people go on together and one guy will be like, all right, I'll guess wrong.
I'll take a
help
fall.
You maybe win. It's just, there's no,
even if you wanted to do that, I don't think there's a way that you could do that as a way that helps the person anyway. So like, but yeah, it'd be stupid because it's a once in a lifetime thing, and you're obviously a trivia nut to be on there. So it's
you're there for, sure, bragging rights, but also like the excitement, the juice of just like, holy fuck, it's Jeopardy. You know?
And also by that fifth game, and I'm not at all blaming this for why I lost. Charlie bettered me. Like so I don't think he missed a question that day, and he was also so fast in the buzzer. But I mean, it was my fifth game in as many hours, and it was the end of a very long day. My left leg was going numb from sciatica. I was trying to like shake it out during commercial breaks so I could feel my leg again. Like I had back surgery a year ago, and it's still not great to be standing up for 6-7 hours straight. So I was just like,
I'm glad you lost.
So ready to go home. Yeah. I mean, I guess the day was over anyway. I was going to go home, but I was kind of like, what a fun way to go out, to have my friend beat me. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, good, man. It seems like you're doing good. You look good still.
Thank you. We got the matching salt and pepper beards going.
Got to do it. Got to have that. Got to have that trying to look rugged dad look. But let me ask before we bring on the calls. As you know, I don't hear them first, so we'll be together with it for the first time. But do you get people that ask you advice, and do you get more people, if any, since Jeopardy?
Definitely more since Jeopardy than ever in my life. Yeah, people who also want to try out. And I'll just tell them, for the most part, watch other Jeopardy episodes. That's the best way to study for Jeopardy. And Ken Jennings says the same thing, but just learning the show, how they structure questions, and the same topics tend to come up a lot. But before that, I wasn't a lot of people's source for advice. I'm trying to think of, I guess with Bridgetown, maybe people would want to know like how to get into Bridgetown, which is a thing I'm glad we don't deal with anymore. That was the least fun part of it, is like, I don't know, send in a funny tape. Like, I don't want to be a gatekeeper for this thing, but
I know that tape watching was the most brutal, to be like, not you, but and then I would be on the road and I'd come across these people. I'd be like, I applied, didn't get in again. And I'm like, okay, man, I didn't see your tape. I don't know. They were never salty, but it's somewhere. I mean, never, not to my face. I'm sure there was a certain, I still feel like sometimes outside of the Portland Mercury, or a Portland Press is like kind of about me, which I get it. I'm not a megastar, or anything. But, it'll always be like, someone's show is coming up and it'll be like a bunch of sentences. And then Mercury will write something awesome. They're really cool. They like my stuff. But then other places would be like, Portland Rays comic Matt Braunger returns this many dates. That's it. Which is cool. But I was thinking about it the other day, and I think it's maybe because I had that festival with you that I was in every single year, with the exception of one, and they think maybe like I profited off it when I didn't ever, because A, that'd be stupid, and B, I did no work. I watched tape and asked famous friends.
That's a lot. That's very important to know.
True, but it's that thing. But of course, that's probably just me projecting.
I think so. I don't think they're thinking that much about it.
But in the end, I'm so fucking glad we did it, man.
Totally.
It was the coolest thing. So
really, I was thinking about that. That New York Times thing where they have 37 questions that are supposed to make you bond with somebody. Like if you want to really get to know somebody, you answer these questions together. Or it wasn't developed by them, but it's sort of this article where they published that went viral a few years ago. I just happened to be looking at that. And one of the things was like, what is your proudest accomplishment, or the thing that you're most okay with being your legacy? And as much as that day of Jeopardy was the most crazy day of my life, like the thing I'm proudest of in my life is Bridgetown. Like thinking about 10 years of that thing and how important it was to so many people. And
I think about this clip of, this is funny because people called it summer camp for comics. And that's why so many comics were bummed they couldn't go. Because you might get industry attention, but you'll have a fucking blast.
Right.
That's the point. But there, remember, I don't know, I've never really thought about this exact, and I'll say this and then we'll go to the first call. But Paul Newman had that summer camp for like at-risk kids and kids who didn't get to go to summer camp and things. And it was this giant thing. And he's just out there like Paul Newman, 75 or whatever he was. And like, just looking at the kids and smiling, and like a reporter's with him. And he's like, so is this a bigger deal than any of your acting roles? He's like, yeah. Oh yeah. No, way bigger. Way bigger. Yeah. Bigger than your food empire? Yes. Like he's getting
Obviously.
tired of him.
Right.
Shut up. Yes. Look at these happy kids. And it is, I feel like you and I are like that. We'd watch all these young comics just having such a good time and having this laminate that validates them. I hate to say that, but it did for me. The first time I was in a festival, like, look, it's real. I'm a comedian, But like, we had that, and we were watching them have this fucking blast, and we're having a blast with them. It's like that'll always be that'll be part of us all the time. So that's
like
awesome.
10 years of good vibes, at least one weekend out of the year. That was pretty amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And I've just randomly got high-fived on the street by 20-somethings through it. Just
Right.
They don't say anything. They're Portland cool, but they're like,
That's sweet.
It's great. But
That's great.
okay. So with that said, good vibes. Renee, roll the first call.
Hey, Matt, this is Mary. So I recently had my heart broken, worse than it's ever been broken before. Like, I thought I might marry this person heartbroken, but it didn't work out, and I've been pretty wrecked over it. Anyway, my rich Dallas grandmother once gave me this advice. The best way to get over somebody is to get under somebody else, and that's usually been my MO, to be honest. Safely, obviously, using protection and getting STD testing after each new partner and all that, but just basically being a big old slut. But clearly it's not a way to do that responsibly during a pandemic. It's not worth it to me to risk someone dying down the line just so I can drown my sorrows in some DX. I should also mention that I've lost all of my touring work, which has been a big part of my life for years now. And I don't want to become a full-blown alcoholic. I'd rather be a latent alcoholic. Thank you very much. So sure. I've been hiking and camping and writing and playing music and all the activities, and nothing is helping. So what is your advice for being heartbroken during a pandemic? Thanks.
Oh, wow.
I've been getting some rough ones lately, man. This is Mary, first off, thanks for calling. Thanks for being incredibly specific about everything. And I mean that. I mean, like, it sounds like I'm being, like, good TMI. It's never TMI, never on the show, because it's NEI on this show. It's always not enough information. People, longtime callers or listeners will know this, but like I bitch about it almost every episode where someone's like, hey, how do you be happy? My girlfriend doesn't like me. What should I do? Boop. Like, I don't know. What the fuck do I say? So first off, thank you for that. Off the top of my head, I can't address the pandemic thing. I think my thing is if you try to fuck someone out of your heart, it for me, it never really worked, and as well as I wanted it to, and it always made me feel sad, but that's just kind of me. I don't know, but I think maybe this is your chance to not try that and to just hurt a little while. I wish I could say something different, but the biggest thing about a heartbreak is and any kind of tragedy, and it is a tragedy. It's one of those things we make fun of, but it's awful. It's like a car crash, but you're not physically injured. It's literally crushing. So I think it's that thing where you just have to go, this sucks. This fucking sucks. And it's going to fucking suck for a little while. And meanwhile, I'm going to camp, and I'm going to have an adequate, but not insane amount of alcohol. And I'm going to, but I'm not good drinking when I'm sad. I will say that it just never helps me, because then I'm hungover the next day and I'm twice as sad. And I'm, but like, I was thinking at this time, I think I've said this on the show, but I was a PA and I went to Quiznos and got sandwiches for a bunch of executives, and they all gave me different credit cards and different envelopes of cash. So everyone in the line at Quiznos fucking hates me because I'm just giving them, okay, is this a new sandwich? Here, because no one can buy each other sandwiches because it's Quiznos and it's so expensive if you're producing television. And so being facetious. So I got the sandwiches, and I go outside, and the meter was almost out of time, and I don't have my car keys, and I don't know where I left them. They're on the sidewalk. They're maybe in a Quiznos. The Quiznos is packed full of people that hate me. I'm thinking if my keys are in there, some guy took it and threw it in the trash, took my keys. I just say out loud, "This fucking sucks." And I just laughed on the sidewalk. I just yelled that it sucked. And I went back and I found my keys. But that moment of there is no hope, this sucks so bad, but the fact that I said it helped. And I wish I could say more for you, Mary, but that's just my best advice right now. It sounds like you're taking care of yourself. Everyone's in a brutal area right now, especially us live performers. And hey, I hate to say hang in there, but it just so, and you sorry.
This one cuts to like the real, I mean, it's like, I could tell you what to do, but then I'd be like, do as I say, not as I do, because aren't we all going through, like I've said this a lot of times, but Steve Agee was also living in the desert the first few months of the pandemic. And we had like a front porch hang one day, and like his mother died a month or two into the pandemic, not of COVID. And he, had to deal with not being able to go back there and deal with funeral arrangements and everything. And he just said that, this thing has it's like a Twilight Zone episode that's delivered each of us our own unique hell, which is true. Like, we're all in hell. We're all in different hells, but we're all in hell.
True.
So yeah, Mary, it's like whatever advice I would give you, I wish I could take for myself. I think, you do sometimes have to sit in the bad stuff. Like even just recently, like I have no shared walls out here in the desert. And there was one night I was just really spinning about a lot of stuff. And I just said out loud, like loudly, I am not doing well. And it sort of like helped my night. I was just like said out loud to myself, I'm not doing well. I was like, that's true. And it's sort of good to hear yourself say it out loud. Last year was the worst year of my life and I won Jeopardy. So everything's shit. But no, I think even one last thing. So the please. Get over someone, get under someone, even in non-COVID times, that probably isn't a great, I'm not saying I wouldn't also try it as the same way you'd use alcohol as a crutch here and there, but it's obviously not a great long-term solution. Sometimes you just gotta sit through the shit, in the shit.
And know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It's just going to take some time, and that sucks. It sucks. I think we've all learned a little more patience than we wanted to have learned, and even now where it's like we have a vaccine, it's taking too long. Yeah, we're yelling, hurry the fuck up, but we have someone in the chief power position that's not completely insane and not caring that people are dying. It's like just that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, and a year ago I was just like losing my mind and was like everything's shutting down. How long? And then you were like, well, when though? Yeah, but when though? Yeah, but when though? And no one knew. And now it's still no one knows, even after all this time. And it's funny. I just want to say one last thing about the sitting in it and realizing, because I mean, I talked about the getting that the Miracle Grow ad was like, I hadn't really earned any money, and that was a nice check, and it was this thing of this in a moment I was kind of back in terms of like really contributing to my child's future, who's 6 months old. And so I was like, wow. But I was more in shock than anything. And my wife went to go do like a workout, and I'm in the kitchen and I was like cleaning, and it was like Captain Phillips, where he's the medical, it's over, the pirates are dead, and they're putting the bandages on him and stuff, and he just starts shaking and crying. I did that in my kitchen because I was just like, I couldn't believe it. And I only said that because it's like, it wasn't relief. It was just, I didn't realize how much I was hurting, how I shouldn't feel that way, but how ashamed of myself I was, and that's for what? For comedy being gone? COVID's not my fault.
Right.
But like,
right.
It's still, you can't change the way you feel. And so I'll just to add that little caboose on to our train, is for Mary, is that it's like, like you don't know, you might not even know how bad you're hurting. And I'm not saying you need to dig in and really feel it, but you got to feel it some and just go, you know, this is just going to suck for a while.
Yeah.
You know?
Accept yourself for having these bad feelings. Don't add
Mhm.
to the pain by also being like, I shouldn't be feeling
Yeah.
this bad or something.
Yeah. Don't.
Like
Yeah.
that.
Exactly. Don't have that. You know, self recrimination bullshit. You know,
Yeah.
doesn't help anyone.
And try to lean on friends. I know it's all virtual and
Yes.
it's not the same, but you know, Zoom with some people or play some.
Yeah.
I finally bought Jackbox and I've been playing some Quiplash with people on like a video call. If you want to join
Oh,
in
right on.
sometime, by the way, yeah, like that kind
Oh,
of stuff.
cool.
It's like, oh, this is what I was missing. That's right. I'm laughing with friends. It's been a minute. So
Yeah. It's expensive, but my wife's company did a Hamburger Mary drag queen bingo. You can do that, and it's fucking awesome. And like,
wait, what does that entail?
basically, if you go Hamburger Mary's is that gay bar in West Hollywood. They used to have one in Portland. Actually, they have one in San Francisco, the original. And they have this drag queen bingo where this drag queen calls out the bingo, but it's just innuendos flying constantly, and there's a really dry guy who's not in drag who's just like okay, and he calls people out by their name, and he knows stuff about all of you because whoever bought the package, you give information about, and it's usually for someone,
Yeah.
and so they'll like B is for blah blah blah, who in 1982 once, like little facts about people and stuff, and so like
Yeah.
everyone's drinking and everyone's cracking up, and it's very very risque and very silly. So like that's what definitely in top 5 Zoom experiences of this
Awesome.
entire time.
That's
So
awesome.
anyway, yeah. So I hope that helps, Mary. Hang in there. All right, caller number 2.
Hey, Matt. I'm a 37-year-old single, attractive woman living in Santa Monica, and I've always been really proud of my age. I've dated men in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, and I attract all of them in the wild, on the apps, just, every organic way possible. So I recently downloaded Hinge, and I was messing with the settings, and I realized that I accidentally changed my age to 30. Well, I didn't realize that until I was going about my business, and an avalanche of likes started coming through on my phone, just like notifications were blowing up. So I go in and I look at these likes, and it's the guys from my same demo, guys in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. So instead of changing my age, which Hinge makes you go through a whole age verification, show your ID kind of thing, I started matching with and talking to all these guys. And the very first thing that I would tell them, I would disclose my real age. And every single time, it has not been a problem. They're like, yeah, cool, no worries. And it's been totally fine. So now I'm facing the moral dilemma. Do I revert back to my real age? I was still getting a great amount of likes, but this is like 10x now. So do I revert back to my real age, or do I keep catching more fish under false pretenses? Thank you. Help me be a better person.
Huh. Wow. Talk about shit. I love it when someone says an app and I don't even know what it is.
Oh, you don't know what Hinge is?
No.
How does
Hinge work?
Slightly more civil than
I feel like Larry
Tinder, I guess. I think it was one of the first ones to have like prompts for things instead of just blanks. So you could it'd be easier to write something about yourself than to just have a blank canvas, I think was kind of its thing.
Okay.
I don't know. It's definitely more recent than Tinder and Bumble on the scene.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not trying to act like I don't know. I do know it and I have the app. I'm just saying I don't know what its like reason for existence outside of those two apps was. Bumble's the one where women have to go first.
Oh.
Tinder and Hinge don't require that.
Sorry.
You okay?
Here, Rose. Yeah. She bonked her bean, I think, on something.
Oh no.
So she's got a great big head. Yeah,
I can relate. Yes.
Kara's in the back office holding her with like giving a face like sorry, she hit her head.
Oh, I thought she's not giving you the face like resentful that you're doing a podcast.
No. We have, dude. This is I get it like an hour and a half per day that she'll cover the baby if I need it. And this is This is
Okay.
this is saved space. But like, people don't give a shit if there's a little crying baby in the background.
Of course.
So,
Yeah.
but because I thought Hinge would be like, I know there's that one matching service for people that like threesomes or they're polyamorous and stuff,
Right.
and will be
Right.
matched with a couple people at once. So I was just like, oh, Hinge, boop, there you go. So someone's in the middle, and I'm just like,
Oh
I thought that
no.
was
Yeah, I can't even think of why they would pick Hinge as the name. It's anyway.
it joins
But no,
people together. I don't
man,
know.
this question I almost want to recuse myself, but
Take it.
do you have no man, I kind of think I think I live in a world of some moral relativism, and I think that there are moral transgressions that are greater than others. I kind of don't think this is the biggest deal. Maybe it's because I've done that before. I don't know. I think, yeah, if you are not like keeping this ruse up for a long time, I don't know. Let's get really clinical about dating for a second and treat it like what it is in the world of apps, which is you could view all this sort of through the lens of behavioral economics, kind of, right?
Right.
It's so that first step, I get wanting to cast as wide a net as possible.
Sure.
If it's in a way that's as sort of harm-free as that. And if you do come clean quickly thereafter, and that anybody who's like, well, fuck you for lying, they can leave. And then someone would say like, well, if you're going to come clean later, why not come clean earlier?
Sure.
And I would say that like, there's also just a dumb bias that we all have because of the number of digits humans have. We ascribe too much meaning to multiples of 10 and 5.
Yes.
So I'm sure there's tons of people who have cutoffs in their ranges just based on multiples of 10, which is so arbitrary. And you might be like, why should I voluntarily Logan's run myself out of now? I'm justifying I'm justifying my own what I consider slight moral transgressions on this one by saying this. And whatever, your listeners might hate me for admitting that I have done that, but never by a huge amount, but about getting under one of those cutoff things that
I get it. Yes. Absolutely.
I don't know.
I mean, look, and it's a fascinating sociological experiment that she got an avalanche of likes by the same age dudes, both young and old, that she was younger. And what does that say about us? I mean, that's what we already knew about men. We're more shallow, but
it says that people had in their thing probably age range 21 to 30.
Exactly.
But
still,
like that's
the I guess. But I mean, the fact that she was so open about it and was like I tell them right away and tell them the story of what I was like, oh, because the thing is it wrong if we had a court of law where it's like, answer the question, yes or no, is it wrong? I guess I would have to say yes.
It's wrong. Yeah.
But do these men really care? I don't think they care. I think this person is describing herself as really attractive and stuff, and she doesn't sound like she's bullshitting or just blindly egotistical or whatever. And it's like, I just don't think these dudes actually give a shit.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think this is the biggest deal. I mean, it's definitely dishonest. And
undeniably dishonest.
I will. There's a time I was on a date, and I think about this sometimes that like, and I still think I do definitely think I had a right to be angry, but this is also back when I didn't have a lot of money, and there's this girl I'd kind of been seeing, and we went out to Jake's in Portland for seafood, and I paid, and it was for me then quite an expensive dinner.
Yeah.
After we're done eating and I've paid, she goes, okay, confession time. And I go, yes, what's up? But she goes, I'm seeing my ex-boyfriend again. And I wanted to be honest with you. And it's like, but I paid for dinner. Hey. And I'm not saying, there's no part of me that was like, you mean I don't get sex? It was just like, what the fuck? We already had what was established as a casual thing, but it's like, there's an understanding this is a romantic situation, and why don't you tell me before we sat down, we went out? Because I might have been like, I don't really want to hang out or I
Yeah.
might have gone to the restaurant with her and been like, let's split it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, part of that makes me kind of feel a little bit like a scumbag, but it's like, it's just the hairs of, well, what's right, what's wrong. Am I mad at this person? Absolutely not. I didn't even flip out on her or anything like that. But it's like with this situation, I think this is so much more innocuous than that. This is not that at all. This is not.
But if you're saying that because you want me not to feel bad, I'm saying what I'm talking about is dishonesty. So you don't have to like try to sugarcoat.
Yeah. But I'm saying there are levels to your point. There's levels, I think, to dishonesty. I mean, that's why they call it a white lie. There's sometimes you lie to someone, not hurt their feelings, and it's gonna, things like that sometimes. But like, I think this is, I don't. It's such a fucking brutal digital jungle.
Right.
I don't see the problem in you putting a slightly different age to fit in this window, or her taking 7 years off when I'm sure she looks that age anyway to get more fish, as she put it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's, I have friends who are into radical honesty, which I don't think is actually about that theory. I think it's a recipe for some really painful relationships, because like the civilization gets by on white lies. Like if we do away with white lies, we are suddenly in a brutal world.
Well, and not even just white lies. Not saying anything.
Right.
Just don't tell this person you find them annoying, or whatever radical honesty would be.
Right.
Where it's like truth is somehow just so pure and people have to fucking hear it. Like, that's insane.
It's really weird. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, okay, sure. If you need to do an intervention for a friend, yes, it's time for brutal honesty. If you're dealing with litigation with someone and they're completely in the wrong, yes, there are times for that.
Yeah.
It's the brutal. It just makes me seem like to me. It just seems like it's someone who they'd like to be an asshole more.
It's
and they're
kind of
like
giving you license. Yeah.
And there's always just people that are just like, hey, I just tell it how it is. I say how it is, and it's just like, no, you're kind of a prick. You don't have to say all this stuff to people.
Which I know that's not directly analogous to what we're talking about, but like, okay, I would say one last thing about this. Like, if your pool, the pool you were starting with at your true age was already huge, which I'm sure, like from on the women's side and the men's side, it's different pool size to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So if your pool was already huge, I guess maybe there's not as much reason to want to sort of game that first step of the system. But I can imagine a scenario where one might already have a very small pool for whatever reason.
Right.
Whatever boxes they tick or don't tick, their pool is already very small. And in that sort of situation, I'm like, why would that person voluntarily narrow their already narrow pool when they could just do this one thing to at least give themselves a shot and then hopefully make up for it later? Again, I'm just defending a thing that I admit is morally wrong, but I just think scale.
I appreciate the fact that you're someone who is familiar with it. And I think a lot of people listening to this are like, oh yeah, I do that, and it's just like, I think you probably have something else not that you should feel ashamed for things in your life, but you probably have something worse than that. And that probably isn't that big of a deal. So I'm saying this isn't that big of a deal.
And I realize now it's hard for me to be like, yeah, Jeopardy players do it for the purity of the game. Also, scrape a couple years off your age.
Yeah, but you didn't. Different thing.
Different things.
This person did not call in and be like, I had someone giving me the answers and a microchip in my ear. That would be amazing. That'd be amazing if someone was like, I just kept it to 7 games won. That's all. I wasn't going to go crazy. What? The guy. Funny you mispronounce Ozymandias. I've mispronounced almost all of it because my friend didn't know how to read the words. I don't know trivia at all.
That's my secret. You heard it here on This Might Help. I cheated on Jeopardy. Someone grabbed that audio out of this and sent it to the producers.
This is not, it's so hard to get like ears on your podcast because there's a billion of them, and it's just like, it just takes one kind of thing to kind of break you and be big and stuff, and like that would do it. That would, if you were just like, yeah, I fucking cheated, fuck it.
Just like, pull down this chart right here, and I have a telescoping thing to point at how it all worked. Like,
that's how it goes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it'd be a while before people caught me. because I have a decent listenership, but I'm no Joe Rogan. Like it would not, it'd be like weeks and people would be on the news like, why did it take so long? Well, he gets about 8 to 10,000 downloads. It's not bad, but it's not 20. Now, your mom's house, if it was on there.
Right. Sure.
Yeah.
Front page news.
Okay. Yeah, but so I don't to you and the caller, I don't see the problem. I mean, I think not that the end just justifies the means in most things, but I think in this case, dude, if you or her end up with somebody that is like your lifelong, and your jokey story to say like your kids, or if you don't have kids, to your close family or friends, is this one, she said she was
right.
30. She was 37. She was so beautiful, I didn't care. And look at us now. Like,
right. It's
who cares?
Yeah, again, if you're
Really, who cares?
as long as you're not keeping up a ruse and his second family for decades, it's
Yeah.
like it's,
She's gonna call in again and be like, I also have 3 other husbands that don't know about each other. Like,
right.
shit. She's like, you said morals don't matter. It's like, we never
yeah.
God damn it.
Time and a place. Awful.
Okay. So we got one more. Anything you want to plug before we get into this call besides the podcast? I mean, you say the podcast.
Well, yeah, the podcast Probably Science I do with Matt Kirshen. We've been doing weekly since early 2012, and I think it's a lot of fun. We talk about science news stories with comedians, or sometimes have actual scientists on, like Neil deGrasse Tyson was on. We had the commander of the International Space Station. You can find that Probably Science wherever you find podcasts. And I just restarted a podcast I'd taken a couple year break from, with TJ Chambers, called Twinsies, where we look at twin film phenomena, like your Deep
Nice.
Impacts and Armageddons. And we sort of compare and contrast and analyze, like, why did 1989 need 4 different body switching movies?
Yeah.
So look up Twinsies. We just restarted with Dante's Peak and Volcano last week. So that was one of the granddaddies of the twin films.
Oh yeah. Oh, right on. Yeah. Okay. So it's not movies about twins. It's
No.
that came out at the same time.
Yeah.
They're just like each other.
Like we've done The Prestige and The Illusionist, Ants and A Bug's Life.
Sure.
We had Guy Branum on to do To Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, and Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Queen of the Desert. Yeah.
Road tripping drag movies from '93. Like, why then? Why that?
It's wild. It's
Very
so wild.
strange. There's so many of them.
Mm-hmm.
Twinsies, as that's called.
Okay. So check out Twinsies and Probably Science. Okay. So with that said, roll last call, Renee.
Hey, Matt. I don't know if you need my name or not. I guess not. All I can say is that we met before. I was a bartender for you when you did a show in Oklahoma City. You came to the bar with me and my friends on. I really don't know why. Yesterday, I'll preface. Yesterday was one of the best days ever. Me and my buddy, we started a film duo. We were making short films, and we got our first music video for an actual musician, not just like a local guy. It's the real deal. Guys been on Vice and all that stuff, and it was a great day. And then today I wake up and it's one of those days where it feels off, and I find out one of my best friends he killed himself yesterday, and we were supposed to hang out last week, and life gets busy. You make plans from the time you think there's gonna be more time, and there's not. And I guess I'm calling. How do you kind of move on from that feeling of guilt? I feel like I don't even, like, all of the good stuff from the day before just feels tainted and shitty.
No.
I guess I'm just wondering what you do. I don't even know why. I probably should talk to a therapist, honestly, but therapy sucks. And so, well, it's not so true, but right now it sucks because today sucks. And I just would rather hear from a comedian. Anyways, keep up the awesome work. Comedy's great. And we're both from Portland. Portland fucking rocks. So See you, man.
Dude, I'm so glad you called in. First off, yes, when you can, please talk to a therapist if you can swing it. And at least talk to close friends. First off, throw the guilt right out the window. You have nothing to do with this person, your friend who took his own life. Whatever led to that was in him and nothing you put there. You sound like you are always a good friend, and life does get in the way, especially now. It's impossible to hang out with anyone in the way we once knew. Um, I feel honestly honored that you called and on my show at this horrible moment in your life. Just know this will pass. And when I had a friend die, I've had a few friends die. I can't say I've had intentional suicide. I've had friends die by killing themselves through substances, and relatives, but which is kind of a slow suicide, I suppose. But I'm kind of splitting hairs. But I will say a thing that stands out for me is there was a guy who died named Gustavo, who worked at the bar I worked at in Chicago, and he died in a motorcycle accident. And I went to a party we all threw, and for kind of to toast him and everything. I went to his funeral as well and things. But I remember feeling like, what is the point when someone that wonderful and so kind can die? What is the point of me feeling good? What is the point of me celebrating or enjoying, an alcohol buzz or friendship? And that it's some kind of wisdom in me that I didn't have at that age, and still I don't have enough, just said to me, what would you do what would you want for your friends to be like? Would you want them to be killing themselves over the sadness inside? Would you want them to be hurting all the time? Would you not want them to be proud of themselves through their genuine achievements? Or would you want them to still celebrate those things in their honor? And I think your friend would be like that too. I think your friend it was proud of you. I think your friend will be proud of you. And I think you work for that. And that's a huge thing that you and your producing partner or creative partner are doing. I think that's incredible. So I'm not saying you're gonna forget your friend or anything like that, but these are two totally different things. So don't think you can't enjoy the one. It's gonna taint it. How can it not? It's so recent, but just keep that in mind. It really helps me when I've lost someone to think of what they would want me to be doing. And I feel like that could be interpreted as selfish, but I honestly don't think it is. Andy, what do you think?
Yeah, this is out of my area of expertise. For like real advice, I can just say that I've been there. I lost my oldest friend in comedy to suicide last summer, and it's fucking brutal. I've lost like 4 close friends in the last year to various things, and I don't know. I would say I think your attitude about therapy is wrong. It doesn't suck. It's great. And I've been Googling quickly to try to find, I know that there are places, if you're hard up cash wise, that offer, I don't know if this is the best link, but there's the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, which has a national helpline, 800-662-HELP. That's 662-4357. But I mean, yes, I would say talk to a therapist. We're idiots. I'm an idiot, at least in terms of.
Me too. I feel like I might have said too much, but
no.
I did just go from my perspective and things that have got me through.
I wasn't judging at all. I was just saying, like, if I had actual great advice on this, I would give it to myself, because it's also been a hard year for that, for me and for my friends. But yeah, obviously you have to go on. I wouldn't say you have to go on with your life. This is a new thing that you're going to have to deal with, and things aren't going to be easy for a while. But yeah, I think you can still allow yourself the daily joys that life brings, where you can find them, because what's the alternative, So I'm really sorry about your friend. It's brutal. It's a hard time for everybody, obviously. And I wish I had some funny shit to say too, but serious. No kidding aside, therapy is not something that you should look down on or have any, I don't know if you were thinking it was like a sign of weakness or anything, but anybody who does, that's silly.
Yeah.
You should, if you can find a way to do it. And if you guys, before you put this up, if there is a different number to call, because I know there are so many free
Well,
or
there's
reduced
also
cost therapies, right?
they are a sub they are a one of the sponsors of the show we get sometimes is a thing called BetterHelp. And if you go to
Oh,
betterhelp.com, they will not only you can get financial assistance, they'll find somebody that's right for what you're after,
yeah.
you know. So
So please do that and don't
yeah.
feel any guilt about doing that. It's really useful
Yeah.
and you'll be glad you did. But I'm so sorry about your friend. But also congratulations on what's going well in your life. Those things don't go away because of other bad things happening. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Sorry.
look, I'm just glad we're ending on a high note. No, there's the joke. I'm a piece of shit. Hey, hang in there, man. And you could have said your name if you wanted to, and say that, when the day we met and all that jazz. So, but yeah, you're right. Portland does rock. So, hey, I hope you're feeling better now. But thanks for calling. So that's it, brother. And thanks for coming on the show, Andy. This was a blast. This was so fun. And I feel like I've been kind of a little bit snowblind in terms of our calls, because I'm just realizing now after so many episodes, I'm like, why do I keep getting these depressing calls? And they're not all depressing, but it's like, fucking read the room, Braunger. It's a tough time. So I'm glad I had someone as fun as you on to kind of wade through the waters with me and make me kind of go, okay. For some reason, I just got perspective. So many of the calls were so rough.
It's just everybody's in their own different hell, but it's still hell. So it's depressing to say, but it's also sort of heartening because it's like the same thing as just yelling out, I'm not doing well. Sometimes you're just like, oh, that's right, I'm not, and that's okay. We're all not doing well right now. That's
you can
fucking
be like,
fine.
I'm not doing well. I'm unhappy as fuck, and I'm actually 37, and I hope you don't mind.
There we go.
With that. But thanks, man. I appreciate you, buddy.
Thanks for having me. Good to see you too.
Well, it was fun. I love having an old friend on and kind of showing them the ropes on This Might Help. And just for old time's sake, fuck you, Andy. If you have any advice needs, give me a call and leave me a message at 323-763-0228. That's 323-763-0228. I didn't mean it, Andy.
This Might Help with Matt Braunger was created and hosted by me, Matt Braunger. Produced by Outer Circle Media. Executive producers Matt Kleinschmidt and Robert Kelly for the Laugh Button Podcasts.